Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mathematical Literacy online class for grade 10 learners this morning. I am going to allow for another 1 or 2 minutes just to allow the rest of the learners to join in, to get set up, get comfortable. So please don't go anywhere. We are going to begin shortly. Okay, it does look like the learner numbers has stabilized, so I think let's get started. Once again, welcome to the grade 10 Mathematical Literacy online class for this morning. Okay. For those of you who still do not know me, my name is Kimberly Brits. I am the educational specialist for mathematical literacy. Now, some basic points I would like to cover before we get started. If you are struggling to hear me, make sure your audio is on and your speaker volume is turned up. You will automatically be muted when joining the session. Should you have any questions, you can ask the question in the question box below or on your right, or you can simply raise your hand. To raise your hand, click the icon on your dashboard below or on your right. Download this presentation and additional resources in the handout box on your right. You will also find all this information in the question box below or on your right. Please, guys, remember to send us your questions. Attendees are encouraged to ask questions and leave comments. However, irrelevant or inappropriate comments will result in the attendee being dismissed from the session. If we did not get to your question, please send an email to academics@impact.co.za. Questions in the question box will be answered and made available afterwards. If you did not receive the questions and answers, please send an email to info@impact.co.za. Then you can also visit Impact's website. You can look at the COVID-19 online schooling, past class videos, for recordings of previous sessions as well as the session of today. So please go have a look there. Now, most of you should be familiar with this page, as we've been using it to do past papers for the previous webinars as well. So for today, we are going to be looking at the June examination for 2018, paper 2. The reason why we are doing yet another paper 2 is because I think it is a great way to do revision and to revise, and also to get to deal with many different types of questions. So I think it is extremely important to familiarize yourself with how questions are asked in order to prepare fully for the June examination as well as the November examination that lies ahead at the end of the year. Okay, so without further ado, let's quickly just cover 2 or 3 more topics and then we're going to jump right in. First of all, I am unfortunately not able to export the document where I cover these questions to a PDF document. Therefore, this whiteboard where we are going to be answering and reading through the paper, I cannot provide this or make this available to you. So you will only be allowed to receive the question paper as well as the memo. You can find this question paper and memo that we are going to be discussing today in the handout box. It is also downloadable from myimpact.co.za. So you can find it there, but for today's purposes, I did make it available in the handout box as well. And then lastly, for all alternative methods, please refer to the memo. So you might think that a question that we are discussing, you have an alternative way that you can solve that problem. You are more than welcome to use alternative methods where it is possible. So if you want to check out if there are any alternative methods, you can have a look. Most of the alternative methods are included in the memo. So have a look there. Now, lastly, I am going to switch off my camera. The purpose of that is just so that we can use the entire screen for the whiteboard, so that it just gives a little bit more space for you to see the questions and the answers. Okay, now let's jump right in. First of all, once again, a paper 2 consists out of cognitive levels 2 to 4, so it is a little bit more difficult. Then this paper has a time allocation of 1 hour, and it counts a total of 50 marks. This paper also consists out of 5 questions. Now let's continue. Okay. I see I misspelled that. Let's quickly fix that. There we go. So first of all, I will, like in the previous sessions, after I've discussed the entire question, so for example, the entire question 1, I am going to have a look at your questions in the question box. So please, throughout our discussion, drop your questions there, and then I will give feedback at the end of each question. Now let's get started with question 1.1. The number of road accidents increased from 365 to 754 in Johannesburg over 2 years. Question 1.1.1. Calculate the percentage by which it increased in those 2 years. Round off your answer to the nearest percentage. So whenever we have to determine a percentage increase or a percentage decrease, we are going to use the following formula. We always say the new value, which is 754. From that, we subtract the previous value or the old value, 365. We divide this difference by the old or previous value of 365. And then we wish to have our answer as a percentage, therefore we multiply it by 100. We type that entire equation into our calculator, and then we will get an answer of 106.85%. Now, your question does ask you to round your answer off to the nearest percentage, meaning the first or the integer, a whole number. Therefore, our answer and final answer will be 107%. And remember, we increased. So therefore, from 754, in the 2 years past that, it will increase by 107%. So it's 107% increase. Question 1.1.2. Calculate how many accidents will happen in another 2 years if the accident rate follows this trend. Okay, so if in 2 years it increases from 365 to 754, and that increase continues with a rate of 107%, they wish to know how many road accidents will there be 2 years after this calculation has been made. So we are going to say 754, and we are going to add that to an increase of 107%. Oh goodness, let's quickly just fix that. There we go. Now, once again, the fun thing is you can type that entire equation into your calculator to get an answer of 1,561. Okay. Question 1.1.3. How would you try to reduce the number of accidents if you were employed at the traffic department? Provide one method. Okay, so you only have to provide one method, and there are multiple methods. Now, this is one of those questions where there are many possible answers. There is no straight answer. But the important thing is that your answer has to be relevant to the question. If you tell me you are going to dress more in purple, that has no relevance to the question and you will not receive marks. If you do tell me that you will perhaps install speed bumps, that is a relevant question or a relevant answer. Another option, you could tell me that you would install more cameras or more traffic cameras. So many possible answers in this question. Question 1.2. Calculate the petrol consumption in kilometer per litre if a car uses 42.7 litres of petrol to cover a distance of 425 kilometers. Round your answer off to 2 decimal places. So to determine the petrol consumption of how many liters this car uses per kilometer, we are going to take the distance, which is 425, and we are going to divide it by the petrol that was, or the amount of liters that was used to cover this distance. So 425 divided by 42.7 liters gives you an answer of 9.95 kilometers per liter. Remember, it's important. That is the unit that they wish you to give your answer in. So don't forget to include this unit in your final answer. Question 1.3.1, or let's just go back. Question 1.3. 8 men lay 3,200 bricks per day. Question 1.3.1. How many bricks will 7 men lay in one day? So first of all, let's determine how many bricks one person is able to lay. So 8 men can lay 3,200 bricks. So one man will be able to then lay how many bricks? So from 8 to 1, we divide by 8, and then we do exactly the same on the other side of our ratio. So we divide by 8 again, and 3,200 gives you an answer, or 3,200 divided by 8 rather, gives you an answer of 400. This means one man can then lay 400 bricks per day. So for question 1.3.1, how many bricks will 7 men lay? We are going to say 7 men times 400, and that will give you an answer of 2,800. Question 1.3.2, how many men are needed to lay 8,700 bricks in one day? So once again, 8,700 bricks are laid. And if one person or one man can lay 400 bricks, we are going to divide the total amount of bricks by 400, which represents one person. And if we type that into our calculator, we get an answer of 21.75. Now, important, Some of you might think that you are finished, you have answered this question, but you are not yet done. Remember, we are working with humans. This question is asking us how many men. You are not going to ever find 21,75 men. You do not get a decimal of a person. So therefore, you will be required to beforehand already know that you need to round this off to 22, to the nearest integer, because that is for counting men, counting people. Okay, I quickly want to check if there are any questions. For question 1.1.1, how did you get 106,85 if the calculator says 106,57? Let's quickly double check. I'm quickly going to type that entire equation onto my calculator just to double check the calculation. 365 over 365 multiplied by 100. Okay, I see it was only a decimal mistake. Thank you for pointing that out. So just to quickly show over here, it should be 106,57, but it's going to be rounded up because there's a 5 next to the 7, so it's going to be 58%. Sorry, those two values are just mixed up or switched around. Okay, there we go. It is still going to round off to 107% increase. So the final answer remains unchanged. All right, now let's have a look at question 2. A car travels at a constant speed of 40 kilometers per hour. Question 2.1. Complete the table below on the answer sheet provided. So if a car travels at 40 kilometers per hour, let's have a look. We are going to complete the table here on the answer sheet. So first of all, if the car travels for 0 hours, then he is not going to cover any distance. If the car travels 1 hour, remember the question statement said 40 kilometers per hour, therefore 40 kilometers in 1 hour. In 2 hours, the car will travel or cover double that distance, so it's going to be 80 kilometers. For 3 hours, it is going to be 3 times 40, which is 120. For 6 hours, it is 240. For 8 hours, it is 320. And then for 10 hours, 10 times 40 is 400 kilometers. Let's look at question 2.2 here at the top. Which variable is dependent and which is independent? Now, extremely important, we are going to be looking at time and distance. So which of those two variables is dependent and which one is independent? Now, I always remember it that the dependent variable is dependent on something else in the question statement. So our dependent variable is going to be our distance. The reason why it is distance is because the distance changes according to the time driven. So the distance is dependent on the time, and therefore distance is our dependent variable. Our independent variable will therefore be time, and it's going to be time because time is what we control. Time does not change according to this question statement, if that makes sense. So I hope all of you understand how to distinguish between the dependent and independent variable. Let's continue with question 2.3. Question 2.3 says, draw a line graph of the data in the table. Show all the points on the graph. Answer the question on the answer sheet provided. So let's scroll down. Here is our answer sheet. We are now going to draw a line graph on the given set of axes. So before we start at all, we first have to give our set of axes a suitable heading, and we also need to label our X and Y axis. So first of all, on our Y axis, we are going to determine the dependent variable, which is going to be distance. On the x-axis is our independent variable, which is time. And the time is in hours. And then for a suitable heading, we can say short and sweet, for example, traveling car. So you can think of many possible headings as long as it is relevant to the information, and as long as there is a heading, you will receive your marks. Now let's get started. I'm going to grab another color pen. First of all, if the car travels 0 hours, then he is going to cover a distance of 0 kilometers. If the car is going to travel 1 hour, then it is going to cover 40 kilometers. For 2 hours, the car will travel 80 kilometers. For 3 hours, the car will travel 120 kilometers. For 4 hours, now that information is not in our table, so we're going to work it out separately. 4 times 40 is 160 kilometers. For 5 hours, once again, that is not given in our table, so we work it out separately. 5 times 40 is 200 kilometers. Then for 6 hours, that information is in our table, so 6 times 40 is going to give us 240 kilometers. For 7 hours, we are going to work that out separately, is 280 kilometers. For 8 hours, it is 320 kilometers. For 9 hours, that is going to be 360 kilometers. And then for 10 kilometers, it is, for 10 hours, it is 400 kilometers. Now I'm going to draw a line graph freehand, but I would like to advise you guys to always make use of a ruler. Okay, so the reason why I ask you to make use of a ruler is have a look over here. We would like that line to connect all the dots. So strictly speaking, this is a very terrible line graph. It should connect all the dots. Okay, so very important at this stage, you should see that as the time increases constantly, the distance also increases at a constant rate. So that is why the data is being represented by a linear graph. Now we are finished with question 2, so I'm quickly going to have a look in the question box if any of you had any questions. Okay, no questions at this stage. Fantastic. I hope and trust that that means you all understand the work up until this point. So let's kick off with question 3. Read the tax invoice below and answer the questions that follow. Now, I understand the information on the tax invoice is quite small. I will zoom in where it is necessary for us to look at the tax invoice's information. So don't worry, I will zoom in. Question 3.1. The Mzunduzi municipality charges a basic electricity tariff and in addition, an amount for electricity use. So that basic electricity tariff is like your fixed fee, basically. Question 3.1.1. What is the tariff charged for 40 amperes single phase electricity? So now we are going to have a look at our financial document. Let's quickly have a look here. You will see if we look at all the headings in bold, here is your electricity basic. And the first heading underneath that is domestic single phase amperes, 40 amperes. And then you will see in the first column, your tariff is provided. Therefore, our answer for the first question is going to be, let's just grab a pen, is going to be 5 Rand. Just quickly want to draw the screen this side. There we go. 5 Rand, 994 cents. Now we are simply copying from our tax invoice. Therefore, we are not rounding this value off to 2 decimal values like we always suggest you guys must do. We are not rounding it off since it is not something that we calculated. We are only copy and pasting from the invoice or the tax invoice itself. Question 3.1.2. Calculate the value of A, the amount owing excluding VAT for 40 amperes of single phase electricity. So they ask us to determine A. Now A is the charge for 40 amperes used, excluding VAT. Now let's have a look here. If our tariff is 5 Rand 994 cents and we use 40 amperes on this electricity line, then we multiply the tariff with the amount used, and if we type that into our calculator, we get an answer of 239 Rand 76 cents. So quite straightforward still. Remember, this is excluding VAT. Okay, question 3.2. The total amount charged for sewage was 116 Rand 28 cent, including VAT. For domestic sewage, a flat rate of C is charged. Calculate the value of C excluding VAT. So a flat rate meaning that there is no tariff. It is a once-off fee. It is a standard fee. There is no tariff involved. Therefore, on the tax invoice, you will see cost is or C is both the tariff as well as the final charge, as the tariff and the final charge are actually the same, as there is no real tariff. Okay, so let's quickly have a look. I'm just going to zoom in so that you guys can see how I received this information. So C is indicated here by sewage domestic, and then 116 Rand and 28 cent is in our amount column, meaning the value including VAT. Okay, so now we are going to have to determine the value of C, which is the amount excluding VAT. So first of all, we are going to take the amount including VAT. We are going to multiply that by 100 over 114. Now quickly, let's just stand still at this point. I would like to explain what's going on over here. So first of all, 116 Rand and 28 cents is the 100% first amount, so that is C, and then the VAT is the 14%. So 116 Rand and 28 cents is actually the 100% first original amount, including 14%. Therefore, let's just grab my pen. Therefore, 116.28 cents is actually not 100% value. It is 114% total value. We would like to determine the amount excluding that 14%. Therefore, the 100% over the total of 114%. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Now, very important, also take note that this is a 2018 exam paper. At this stage, VAT was still calculated at 14%. So I would like to just point out, for the purpose of this paper, we are going to use 14% as VAT. But whenever you are going forward, so if you are going to do a 2019 or 2020 paper, make sure that you use 15% as VAT, because since 2019, VAT has increased from 14% to 15%. So just take note of that. Now, if we type this entire equation into our calculator, we are going to get an answer of 102 Rand. Let's look at question 3.3. According to 3.3, yes. According to the account statement, the total VAT to be paid is 140 Rand and 96 cents. Question 3.3.1. Explain why this amount is not 14% of the total due. Let's quickly have a look. I can explain that when we look at the tax invoice. First of all, have a look at the tariff column. You will see that there is a tariff for every single item listed on the tax invoice. But then if we look at the VAT column, you will see that on some of the tariffs, no VAT is charged. So you will see, let's just quickly highlight all the VAT items. The first 3 items listed, meaning these 3 totals, no VAT is charged on those 3 amounts. Therefore, if we add all of these amounts together in the amount column, and we determine 14% of that total, it is not going to correspond with the total VAT calculated as 140 Rand. I think it's 140 Rand and 96 cents. The reason for that is because VAT is not calculated on these amounts. Okay, so just beware of that. I'm just going to quickly erase all of these scribbles. Okay, so to answer question 3.3.1, we are going to say the total amount includes rates on which no VAT was charged. So exactly what I've just explained. Question 3.3.2. Show with calculations how the VAT of 140 Rand and 96 cents was calculated. Now, first of all, we quickly have to look at all the values here in the VAT column, and then we have to notice that we already calculated B, luckily, but we have not yet, we have not calculated B, and we do not have the value of D. So we first need to determine the value of B and D before we can add all the VAT totals together. So first of all, the nice thing with B is we already have the value of A. So we can either say the value of A multiplied by 14% over 100. Alternatively, we can use another method to determine the value of B. We already have the amounts including VAT, and we have already determined the value of A. You will see that I did copy the value of A and C over here that we've already calculated in previous questions. So we can say to determine the value of B, we are going to use the value including VAT, which is 273 Rand 33 cents. From that, we subtract A, which we calculated as 239 and 76 cents. The difference is 33 Rand 57 cents. We are going to calculate D exactly the same way. So we are going to take the value in the amount column, which includes VAT already, which is 116 Rand 28 cents. We are going to subtract C. Now remember C, we calculated here in question 3.2 as 102 Rand. The difference is 14 Rand and 28 cents. Then for our final answer, since this question asks us to prove with calculations how the total VAT of 140 Rand 96 cents was calculated, so we are going to add all the values in the VAT column together. So we're going to start off with B, which is 33,57, plus the next value, which over here is 2,27, plus the next value over here, which is 55,76, plus the next value, 9,24, plus 14,28, that's the value from D that we've just calculated. And then here at the bottom, a last value of 25 Rand and 84 cents. Now we are going to simply add all of those values together. It gives us a total of 140 Rand and 96 cents, which is exactly the same as the value given in our question statement. Therefore, we have just proven how the VAT was calculated. Let's move on to question 3.4. The residential rate under assessment rates is 1,89%. If the retailable value of the property of the retailable value of the property. Rates are calculated annually but paid monthly. The monthly charge, excluding rebates, is R732.38. Calculate E, the annual rebate value of the property. Use the following formula. So you will all see, I already highlighted, but over here they provide you with a formula. Now on our tax invoice, you will see that here at the top is the value E that they wish for us to now determine. So the nice thing is they've provided us with a formula already, so that kind of guides us towards what we should be doing. So we are going to calculate the retailable value by saying the monthly rates equals to the residential rate multiplied by the retailable value divided by 12. So first we're going to substitute in the information we have. They gave us the monthly rate as R732.38. The residential rate they also gave to us as 1,89, and we are going to put it over 100 to get rid of that percentage. We change it to a fraction. Then the retailable value is what we need to determine, and it is put over 12. So we would like to then get the retailable value, that word we would like to get all by itself on the one side of the equation. Therefore, we are going to start off by getting rid of this rate. Now, this side, on the right side of the equation, we are multiplying with this rate. So to get rid of the rate, we are going to divide. We are going to do the opposite action on the left-hand side. So 732,38 divided by 1,89 over 100. And if I type that into my calculator, just give me 1 second. 1.89 over 100 is going to give me an answer of 38,750,26455. Now you will see that I did not round that value off because we are still busy with calculations. We only round off our final answer. So we are going to leave those decimals there up until the point where we have our final answer. Only then will we round off. Now, the last thing that we would like to get rid of is this 12. So on the right side, we are dividing by 12. Therefore, to get rid of the 12, we are going to be multiplying this 38,000 value with 12. And if we multiply that 38,000 value with 12, it gives us a final answer of 465,003,17. Okay, so that is our retailable value. Let's continue with question 3.5. Water consumption is charged as follows. The first 6,2 kiloliters is charged at R5.42 per kiloliter. The rest of the water use is charged at a tariff of R10.94 per kiloliter. Question 3.5.1. I'm going to just move it over here. Write down an equation that may be used to calculate the amount that they will be charged for water. So first of all, cost in rand equals to. That is how our equation is going to start. Then we are going to say for the first 6,2 kiloliters, we are charged at a tariff of R5.42. And then I'm just quickly going to erase all of this, otherwise we're going to run out of space. Then we're going to continue by saying we are going to add the tariff or the amount for the rest of the water more than 6,2 kiloliters. So we are going to determine that by saying the amount, which will be the total amount of water used, minus that 6,2 kiloliters for which we already determined a cost, and then the outstanding amount is multiplied with the tariff of R10.94. So that will be the equation that is used to determine the cost in rand. Let's continue with question 3.5.2. The equation in question 3.5.1 can be represented graphically. Two graphs are provided below. Which one of the two graphs represent the equation in question 3.5.1? Explain your answer. Now I'm going to start off, I'm going to work a little from the back to explain this to you. So quickly have a look at graph B, which is a linear graph. Straight line graph, linear straight line graph. First of all, this graph is linear because the amount of water used increases at a constant rate and the cost of the water also increases at a constant rate. Therefore, the price that they pay per kiloliter is unchanged and therefore a linear graph. But if we look at graph A, you will see that the first 6 kiloliters, just over 6 kiloliters, is charged at a different rate than the amount outstanding after that, or the amount of kiloliters more than 6,2. Now, this tells us that the price you pay for this kiloliters is different from the price that you pay for this. Now, the reason why the second half or the second part of our graph is increasing at a steeper rate is because the amount has nearly doubled. So you will see, if we just quickly reverse or go back, 5 Rand 42 cents is charged for the first 6,2 kiloliters. After that, it is more than double this value. So more than double 5,42 is what is charged for all the water, for the number of kiloliters used more than 6,2. So therefore, graph A is going to represent our equation in question 3.5.1. Let's have a look at question 3.6. I see that there's a question. I am going to give feedback on it in a moment's time, so just be patient. Question 3.6. The table below shows a household's electricity consumption for the past 12 months. Question 3.6.1. Provide one reason why the electricity consumption was the highest in June. So let's have a look. Here's June for an electricity consumption of 830 kilowatts per hour. That, once again, is an open-ended question. As long as you give an answer relevant to the question, there are multiple possible answers. You could have said it is school holiday, so learners are at home and no longer at school, which means more electricity is used. You could have said that it is in the middle of the winter season, therefore more heaters are used, warm blankets are used, people drink more warm drinks, so the kettle is used more often. You can give a multiple range of possible answers. Question 3.6.2. Determine the probability that the electricity consumption is less than 710 kilowatts. So now let's have a look. In the 12 months, there's only 1 month where the electricity usage was less than 710 kilowatts per hour. So the probability of electricity which is less than 710 equals to 1/12, because there's only 1 month out of the 12 months in total where the consumption of electricity was less than 710. Okay, that brings us to the end of question 3. So I'm quickly going to look at the answer. Why do we have 2 maths papers? So please revert to one of the previous webinars done on the paper 1 and paper 2 content. You will see that questions are asked in cognitive levels 1 to 4. So question paper 1 includes level 1 to 3, where question paper 2 covers cognitive levels 2 to 4. So it just increases our difficulty level, and then we do not expect you guys to be seated for a long period of time. So we'd rather split the content of a paper into 2 smaller papers, then expect you to be seated for up to 3 hours to complete a paper, which is, it can get extremely long. Let's continue with question 4. Below is a floor plan of a childcare center. Answer the questions that follow, or answer the questions below. Now, question 1 says, 4.1 says, use the bar scale to determine the actual length and breadth of the following. Question 4.1.1, the swimming pool. Okay, so I see here I've forgotten to translate this question, or well, vraag, but it means question. So this is just your question. Okay. Now, question 4.1.1, I already went ahead and measured the length and the breadth of the public swimming pool, since we cannot use a measure or a ruler on this program. So you would have received marks for measuring the dimensions of the swimming pool on the paper. Then you should have gone ahead and you should have measured your bar scale. So from this end up until 6 meters measures 3 centimeters. So 3 centimeters on our paper represents 6 meters in reality. Now we are going to go ahead and say, what will the length of the swimming pool be in reality, and what will the breadth of the swimming pool be in reality? First of all, we are going to say 3 centimeters. Now let's have a look. 3 centimeters equals 6 meters in reality. So this is actually, yeah, just our bar scale. Meters, there we go. Now the breadth is 6 centimeters, which is double the length of our bar scale. So our bar scale is 6 meters equals 3 centimeters. So 6 centimeters is therefore going to equal 12 meters in reality. So this simply tells us that in reality, the dimensions of the pool will be 6 to 12. Now let's continue. Question 4.1.2, the lawn. Now the lawn on your exam paper measures 4.5 centimeters by 4.5 centimeters. Now, if we have to convert these measurements, we are going to use a little bit of a different route. We already determined that 3 centimeters on our paper is the same as 6 meters in reality. So 1 centimeter on our paper, if we say 3 divided by 3 gives us 1, but what we do on the one side, we are going to be doing on the other side. So 6 divided by 3 gives us an answer of 2 meters. Now this means that 1 centimeter on my paper equals to 2 meters in reality. So we are going to use this information to determine the real length and breadth of the lawn in reality. So let's just correct that. We are going to say 4.5 centimeters multiplied by 2, because that is 2 meters in reality. So that gives us an answer of 9 meters. Now, luckily, the length and the breadth of the lawn is exactly the same. So 4.5 once again multiplied by 2, which is 4.5 centimeters multiplied by 2 meters equals, once again, 9 meters. That means the dimensions of the lawn in reality is 9 meters by 9 meters. Let's continue with question 4.2. Describe the position of the pool in relation to the other buildings. Now, first of all, this is my pool. I'm not going to take too much time to explain this question because I'm scared we are going to run out of time. So let's quickly look at the question that I've already included in the answer sheet. The pool is in the top left-hand corner of the property, to the left of the community hall, overlooking the hall and the playground. So that is the position described compared to other things in the nearby surrounding. Question 4.3. Where would you plan to dig a flower bed for the daycare facility and why? So here is my daycare center. You can typically say that you can plant a flower bed to the right side of the lawn. So on the right side of the lawn, and you would suggest that the flower bed is planted here because it's not going to be in the way or in the way of any walkway or in the way of any passage or door. As you will see, here's a playground, here's a daycare. So you can assume that a lot of travel takes place in this section. Question 4.4. Just gonna pull the screen up a little bit. Question 4.4. Would a room with the dimensions 7 meters by 11 meters fit inside the community hall? Use calculations to justify your answer. So first of all, the community hall measures 7 centimeters by 3 centimeters. Okay. Now, in reality, let's first determine the actual dimension. So 7 centimeters multiplied by 2. Remember here at the top we said that 1 centimeter equals 2 meters in reality. Therefore, 7 centimeter is going to be 14 meters in reality. And 3 centimeters multiplied by 2 is going to be 6 meters in reality. Now, the room that they wish to fit into the community hall is 7 meters by 11 meters. So if we look at this dimension, we might be able to fit the 11 meters into the 14 meters, so into the length of the community hall. But then the breadth, which is 6 meters, means that the room that they want to fit in actually has a breadth of 7 meters. So it doesn't matter how we swap or how we angle our room, it is not going to be able to fit. So no, it will not be able to fit. And remember to include a reason. Okay. We have 10 minutes left and we have 3 questions left. So let's see if we can quickly work through them. I see that there's no questions asked up until this point. So please remember, submit them so that we can get back to them before the end of this session. Question 5. The pie chart represents the Van der Walt family's budget. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Mr. Van der Walt is the sole earner in the family with a salary of 8,600 Rand per month. Question 5.1. How much does he spend on food? So now we have a look at our pie chart. 25% of his salary is spent on food. Therefore, we say his salary amount of 8,600 Rand multiplied by 25 over 100. It's just the percentage written as a fraction. If we type that into our calculator, we get an answer of 2,150 Rand. Question 5.2. Calculate the number of degrees in the circle allocated to accounts, furniture, and clothing. Accounts, furniture, and clothing is 30% of the entire pie chart. So 30% over 100, we are going to write it as a fraction. And now they are asking us to determine the number of degrees. Now the total or the sum of all the degrees of a full circle is 360 degrees. Therefore, 30 over 100 multiplied by 360 degrees gives us an answer of 108 degrees. Let's have a look at our last question, question 5.3. Can Mr. Van der Walt save money at the end of each month? Mention 2 ways. So you are required to mention 2 possible suggestions as to how he can save money. Here you can say that he can perhaps buy fewer clothes. Buy fewer clothes. You can also say that he must use less water. So many possible answers. You can say that they should rather shower instead of bath. They can use less electricity. They can look for a cheaper food retailer. So many possible answers. All right, so that is the end of paper 2 for today's discussion. I am going to give you another minute or so. If you still want to submit questions, please do so. I can get back to them via email. And then lastly, I would like to mention, if you guys are interested in getting registered with Impact, you can send an email to info@impact.co.za. And then I would like to thank all of you for joining into today's discussion. I really do hope that all of you have learned something. I quickly want to give you an opportunity in the question box. Use one word to describe how you feel about paper 2. So if you were to be given a paper like this one that we've just discussed, how would you feel? Would you feel anxious? Do you feel positive? Do you feel genius after we've discussed this paper? Give me 1 to 2 words just to explain how you feel about the paper that we have just discussed. Great, it looked pretty good. Thank you for that response. I'm glad that you are feeling positive. Fantastic. 2 positives are pretty good. It makes me so glad to see that you guys have a positive attitude towards mathematical literacy and towards this paper. So continue working hard. And once again, thank you for joining into today's session. And I hope to see you guys in the next session. Goodbye.